seven, six, five, four, three, two, one, zero.
We're live. Okay, so I'm your show host, Lupita Fernandez, and welcome to Meeting Millennials. So today we are in a whole other different setting. As you can see, we are in a group chat video. We are currently in a pandemic with the coronavirus, so we've just had to change and resort with whatever we can. So for today's episode, we are actually having, what would you like to classify your generation, Claudia?
Oh, I'm on the tail end of the boomers.
The boomer. Okay, boomer. So, right before this, we were having technical difficulties. And she actually said that herself, so I'm not being mean. I actually know Claudia from my previous job, so I like to call her like a walking human encyclopedia because she knows everything. Yes, you do.
A little bit about a lot of things. But.
I love to help everybody else. So that's why I asked you to be on my show, and then you helped me meet
Rassi Ran.
Razzie Ran.
Yes.
So if you want to introduce yourself and let the audience know who you are and what you do.
Okay. Claudia, do you want to go first?
Oh, I thought she kind of introduced me, but sure. My name is Claudia Tratcher, and Lupita and I met at her previous employment. Mm-hmm. And we talked a lot about a variety of things, but she felt like I could help today, and I hope I can. So I'll do the best I can.
And then you introduced me to him.
Yes. So thanks for introducing Lupita to me, Claudia. My name is Rassi Ran. I'm a photographer who has been working independently, fully freelance for over 12 years now, shooting all over the Metroplex, automotive, portraits, weddings, events, and products.
Oh, that's a lot. So how did you start your business? Because so with Meeting Millennials, I interview people who aren't doing a typical 9-to-5 job. They're breaking past generational standards and just pursuing their own passions. So a lot of people who want to start their own businesses, they feel like, maybe they can't because they're just kind of stuck in like this structure that we're always been in, like a 9-to-5. But now with this coronavirus, that structure is falling apart really because of, should I say because of the president, or do I want to say the structure is broken?
It's the virus, but.
So I wanted to talk more about that, about how the virus is changing. And because yesterday I was listening to the press briefing that they had, and Trump was really just emphasizing like social distancing and just precautions that we can take, but also he declared it was Washington, New York, Iowa, California, and Texas as a major disaster declaration. So I don't think people understand what that means.
It's declared so that more money can be released to those states, but he has not yet come up with that money, even though he has declared those states as a disaster area, because there's currently a shortage of hospital beds, of protective gear for the doctors and nurses and the healthcare professionals. There's a shortage of test kits. So even though we are currently testing people now, finally, there's still not enough tests. And even if there were tested, it's still our staff who gets the results of the tests are understaffed and overworked. So we're not getting the results in as timely a fashion as we need to in order to address the problem. So when he has those briefings, listen more to Dr. Fauci, who is the medical expert on his team, and he is the one who is telling us what we can look forward to down the road and how serious this is going to be.
So can you tell us a little bit about what he was saying?
About the press conference?
Mm-hmm. About the virus.
Oh, about the virus? Well, he's listening to his advisors, of course. Now, unfortunately, he wants this to be over faster than what it is going to be over. And so he is saying that he wants everybody back to work by Easter, which is only a couple of weeks away. The virus is on its own timeline, and it's not going to bow to political pressure, either left or right. It's going to have to be addressed. Right now, the Trump administration is making allowing the governors to set the rules as far as whether people are sheltering in place or whether or not they're taking action towards getting their own masks. So basically, states are bidding against each other for PPEs. And this could be better done as a federal effort so that they have the weight of the federal government organizing something so that it can help all the states equally, or where the need is greatest too. But we've got to stop the spread of it as well. And while he has closed the borders, it's already here.
It is piggybacking off of what Claudia said briefly, how it goes from federal to state, and then when you watch some governors around the nation delegate responsibility to the local level as well. Texas, for example, and Governor Abbott not wanting to lock down the state and using the number of 200 plus counties, not having a single case, sort of in some ways, from his worldview, I feel minimizes the effect of how it's portrayed. Whereas you have, a very large metroplex like Houston or Dallas, Fort Worth, for example, and that's where a lot of the spread is happening. And when you delegate too much, sort of pass the baton instead of passing it kind of one way to the other in terms of addressing the issue, it's sort of like cutting that baton in pieces and then hoping that one of the runners gets to the finish line, and that's definitely not how this virus should be addressed.
So I want to talk about the origin of the virus, because social media, they just kind of take information and then, it's true, like they said it started from a bat, and then they're blaming the Asian people. And so I just want people to know where it actually came from, if you could give us that information.
Well, that is something I did not look up, Lupita, but thank you for asking. It is transmitted from animal to human, but originally people were ill in China. It spread quickly, but people were sick here and in other countries in such a short order that it seems like it would have made it here no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So calling it the Chinese virus instead of COVID-19, that just profiles Asians. And people in this country are suffering for it because people are already motivated to be what my stepmother calls hateful to people of other races. And so now there's attacks on Asian Americans in this country. And instead of politicizing where it came from and trying to blame another country for its origin, this entire world is affected. We should all be in this together. We should all be trying to help each other. And China is trying to send supplies because they think they've got a handle on it. Although they've had a few more cases, they're saying that they've got it tamped down. But they're sending us PPEs that we need.
Mm-hmm.
We have a Chinese businessman here in Dallas that is trying to get us supplies too. He's calling everybody he knows overseas to get what we need here to help our doctors and nurses so that we can be prepared, because we're in for it. It's going to be bad. It is not peaked, and it is going to get worse. My stepmother did tell me today that Harrison County had their first case. That's out in East Texas. So for Abbott to say that we only have it in certain counties, it's spreading, and it will spread further unless we can engage in social separation, stay in our homes, follow the rules, wash your hands, stay 6 feet apart from people, try not to touch things, and if you do, wash your hands afterwards. When I get home, I'm taking off my clothes, putting them in the washing machine, taking a shower, and then spraying my shoes with Lysol. You don't want to bring it home to your family.
Yeah, I mean, I'm practicing also new ways to be clean. I'm not wearing shoes inside my house anymore because whatever I brought from outside will just come right in. So I think it really is just teaching people how to be more sanitary.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says about us, but
I can, myself being Asian, I feel a lot of Asians definitely can relate to that little snippet of what you just described, how shoes are left at the front. And it's in Asian households, it is a very commonplace to just leave, even when you're a very prized guest over that they have you over for. It's seeing kind of that cascading little cascading hygiene tidbits happening outside of I guess my worldview is fun to watch.
yeah, I just sigh because we're all, like you said, we're all in this together, and it's scary because it's change and it's the unknown. Yeah. So a lot of people think that things are just going to go back to the way it is. And I think they need to realize that it's not. So how would y'all say, or what, in your opinion, how is the economy going to change in like jobs and just in general?
I think the economy is going to go into a deep recession. Unfortunately, the tariff trade wars with China are to contribute to that to some extent, because we're cutting off a lot of our own trade and taxing items that we need from China because they make a lot of medical supplies, and we don't have access to them without paying a heavy fine. So we're basically fining ourselves instead of helping ourselves by not relieving. I know that a lot of jobs that we have now are going to go away, and a lot of small business owners are not going to be able to come back. But I think that will also open the opportunity for new businesses.
Oh yeah, so
don't you think it'll be restructured?
I believe so. But it's also, like you said, we have to see the opportunities and the changes that's going on. So it's either like, are you going to sink or are you going to swim? Changes that's going on around the world. And so that's why I'm having this, to help other people see how they can find opportunities in what we're going through.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, Ressie.
So, J.P. Morgan, the largest American bank, they released a data set that shows averages of when sort of the failure points of small businesses are. And the general range is about, in terms of cash flow, outbound and inbound, and the general failure window is about 20 days to about 30 maybe about high 30s, about a month out. And this is based on, I believe their metric that they used was about an average of about $400 of $385 taking in daily, and then about a little bit less than that being spent. So they're barely making money because, payroll and all that. But on the far end of that was the real estate market. And then towards the beginning of that, the shorter window are restaurants and some smaller retail. And I think that's why you start to hear and read about so many restaurants, for example, cutting staff, cutting hours. And if it hits sort of the one of the biggest expenses arguably that people make in their lives, which is real estate, buying a home, if that gets hit way too hard, then that's how we're in extra hot water, for sure.
Yeah. Well, actually, Bank of America declared the economy was in recession because of all the people that are calling in to call for the coronavirus. To basically give them like an extension on their mortgages.
Yes.
So I forgot what the term was. It slipped my mind.
Well, they'll put it on the back end so that if you miss 3 months of rent, instead of if you have a 30-year mortgage, instead of ending at that end of that 30 years, it'll be 30 years and 3 months. Or it won't have to double up, because that's that's an overwhelming amount for a lot of people, especially if we're coming into a recession. So they have tried to put in some measures in place. Wells Fargo, Chase, a lot of those, Toyota Motor Company, all of those people, if you have, your mortgage through them, or you're leasing a vehicle or buying a vehicle, there is some wiggle room there where you can contact those people, explain the situation, and then again, they'll extend your lease by however many months you miss those payments for. I'm sure there is some sort of limit to that, but we're all in unknown territory right now, so at least you won't be foreclosed on. And there should be something for renters as well, where they are, not allowed to boot them if they're behind on their rent because of this. So their protections aren't being put in place.
So do you know any about the laws in Texas, specifically for renters and homeowners that are being discussed?
I don't know specifically for renters in Texas, but I do know that they have put in a lot of safety nets in the bills that they've passed recently. The House and Senate have passed for unemployment insurance. So if you're unemployed, they're going to not only give you that $1,200 check you've been hearing about, that people are so excited that will go nowhere, because that's 1 month mortgage payment, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How did they come up with that number, the $1,200 a month?
I don't know exactly how they came up with it. They negotiate everything there, and it was originally lower than that. And I think for lower income people, they only wanted to give $600 per person, but now it's going to be $1,200 per person and then $500 per child in the household. But it's, I think, a 1 or 2 time deal, and then after that, it's anybody's guess. But what they have done is if you file for unemployment because you've been laid off or furloughed because of the coronavirus, that now there's enough money given out to the states where not only you get what would normally be your weekly or however you're paid normally, it would usually at $350 a week, but they've added $600 per paycheck per week onto that from the federal government. So you should be making around $900 a week, up to 26 weeks normally, but I think they've extended it to 39 weeks.
Wow.
So if you are laid off, that's a little padding for you to help you make your bills.
So what about us, like us freelancers who are technically by the government not unemployed? What do you know what happened?
They actually are allowing people who are self-employed to file for unemployment insurance now. That was one of the waivers. So understanding that this is an unprecedented event in our history and that people are going to be in need, and we have, like you, a lot of people who are making their own way through side hustles and you know, making jobs for themselves out there, like you and Rassi. They will be able to file for unemployment. They have waivered that.
So essentially gig workers, freelancers, and contractors, people who, in the eyes of the IRS, when we file our taxes, we file what is the form called 1099 miscellaneous.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have these companies that contract out work from people like me. We're talking millions, and in the eyes of the U.S. population, we're a very small kind of fraction of the workforce, and so we do not pay into an unemployment tax like most W-2 employees, and we can't technically even call ourselves employees for this company because of liability and taxation barriers.
Okay.
And so when for example, when the latest bill that is now going to the House on Friday to be voted on, with the extension of including freelancers, self-employed people like me, I believe the number is they will offer $600 per week for 4 months. And like what Claudia said, that is unprecedented because I'm my only employee. It's just me, and so I'm mentally I'm used to essentially, no assistance, no handouts, no help, and it's essentially the conversation of pulling yourself up by the bootstraps talk. But it's something I have had to do for many number of years. So it's nice to see the recognition in the bill.
Do you mind giving like some advice for entrepreneurs? Because you said you're used to it, like mentally you can pull yourself out. But what about for others who this is like their first blow and they're just sitting here like, I don't know what to do? What advice would you give them?
So going in, I had to learn some of the hard truths. Understand that a good amount of self-started business and entrepreneurships fail easily within the first year or two. Sometimes it's a matter of right person, right place, right product, wrong time, or another combination of that. One large advice I would suggest is to invite, cold call, video chat, talk over coffee, call up with a veteran in the industry, because that is what will kind of help separate who are the very helpful ones that do want to share. Because over time, it's a lot. Being in this industry for so long, I've learned it's not about being a competitor and trying to secure work for yourself, because there's plenty of work to go around. I would rather volunteer and my time and expertise to help bring others up, like if they reach out to me. So I like to imagine other experts in various other creative industries are kind of share the same sentiment and are like that as well.
Wow. So it's affected everybody, but specific industries are affected differently. So I'm actually curious how the car industry is doing right now, because of there were like trading laws between China and the U.S. that got changed in the last year that I've been working in the car industry. I'm not really sure how it's affecting the trade now. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about that.
Well, some of the manufacturers are shutting down Toyota and GM and I think Ford are stopping production. There has been talk of retrofitting some of those places into creating ventilators, but that is, I think, a pipe dream. They're not really set up to make those machines, and it would take a certain skill set, and I don't know that that's really going to work, especially not in time. I mean, it would take a lot of time, I think, to get that going. So production is stopped on some. Right now, car dealerships are not considered a essential business, and so while the service department is open currently, I do expect that to change in the next couple of weeks as things get worse and more people are sick. I think that we will probably not have that. All those non-essential, currently things that are considered essential because they have a little pull with the government or whatever they may have. Medical, grocery store, pharmacy, gas stations, those may be your only real places to go in a couple of weeks.
Are they considering the liquor stores essential also?
They are in Texas. Now, I read that all the states that are affected except Pennsylvania are considering liquor stores essential. So the people in Pennsylvania are suffering. And of course, in California and Colorado, medical marijuana also essential.
Wow, that's crazy. So Claudia, you always tell me about, I know, us millennials, we have to make the change. We need to go out there and vote.
You do. You are the future of this country. You are the people that are going to make this a better place. For too long, we have people in there that are 80 and 90 years old making the rules for people who are your age. That's ridiculous. Those people should be retired somewhere. They don't understand how or what your needs are. Okay? I suggest that, people your age need to be running for Congress. They need to start small, start like Mayor Pete and start as a mayor, and then, become, if nothing else, get on like a school board or the council at your city, city council. Just get involved with your community, because locally is where the change starts. Okay? If you are not registered to vote, register to vote. If you have a candidate that you like, donate money to them if you can. If you can't donate your time, run a call bank. We're in an election season. It's going to be crazy because people can't hold rallies and they can't go and shake hands and kiss babies. This is not all off the table. And Donald Trump has every day his coronavirus talk, and he spends most of it either congratulating himself on what a great job he's doing, or he is telling us lies and then having to have them corrected by his other medical expert, Dr. Fauci. So we have got to be the voice of change.
So with our generation and how we like to stay connected, basically have phones glued to our hands, there's virtually no excuse or reason now to, we have the channels to reach out to all our political constituents. The easiest avenue I can think of is texting the word resist to 50409, and it will link you up. It'll read your area code and then ask for your zip code, and then it'll say, do you want to reach essentially the president or someone in Congress or your local representative, and you can text it and it'll take your text and from the text chain, and then it'll write them, it'll put it in a letter and then send it to them. So I think that's a very cool uh, very cool way for young people, young and old, to reach. So, the days of only writing like a traditional letter and putting a stamp on it, those days are long gone. There are a lot of channels to reach and have a voice. So it's just a matter of the if you're willing to.
Yeah, so I think also a lot of people, they want to make change, but they don't know how to make the change. So what are some resources that we could go to just like look up, or sites that you use that are credible?
I would say be informed, number one.
Mhm.
Just pay attention to the news, pay attention to the things that are being done. If national parks are being sold to oil and gas companies, how does that help our future? If there were reducing the amount of strictures on Clean Air and Clean Water Acts, that that doesn't help us. People still have to live here, and to willfully neglect our planet, which is already under so much stress. Climate change is coming. It's getting warmer. This is already the warmest year on record. And until we can reduce carbon emissions, until we can become less dependent on fossil fuels, until we can stop throwing plastic into our oceans and killing all of our wildlife, and overfishing, and this is a planet that we share with other creatures, and we are doing a terrible job of being good managers of that land and of the creatures that we share it with. And even for ourselves, there's too many chemicals and not enough cleanup, and it all seems to be based out of greed. So I would say, join the Sierra Club, use your national parks, go camping, get closer to nature. Look what you're losing when these things happen, and people are cutting down forests in national parks because they're given permission by our government to do so. We need clean water to live, and water is going to be very valuable coming up pretty soon. The glaciers are melting. We have to change the way we live, and it's going to be drastic. And this may be the thing that does it. But locally, I would say volunteer. Help people local. Volunteer at your library. Read stories to the kiddos. Donate blood. Just donate to your local charity. If you know somebody that needs a friend or an ear, just say hi to the person sitting next to you on the bus. Not right now, I mean from a distance, but be more open to people who are not like you.
Exactly.
And I think that also you should check in, especially right now, check in with your elderly, check in with your neighbors and see how they're doing, if they're okay, if they need anything. I would also say that this is a good time to connect with your family and friends that maybe you haven't talked to in a little while, and just see how they're doing and share. It makes you both feel better, I think.
That's true. I actually have a nonprofit organization. It's called Blessing Hands. So it just originally started with my mission to help homeless people, because you always see them passing when we're driving. So that's originally how it started. And then now I'm extending my hands to people who need like baby wipes or just necessities now. So if anybody who needs help, you can direct them to me and my organization and help them out. So I'm trying to do my part as I can.
Yeah, you can only affect your corner. Now, some people can change the world. Some people have that charisma and that personal willpower, like Greta Thunberg. Those people can change, and you could change too. You can make change that will impact other people's lives for the better. And I think that this is going to change how we live a lot. And I think that right now we're taking the time away and kind of realizing that the way our society is structured is so work oriented. There's not enough work-life balance. And now maybe you're getting a little too much home life and, but I think we should appreciate this time right now, because we always say we don't have enough time. And now we have time to think about, what do we really want to do next?
Yes. And so peeking into the realm of social media and how it ties so much of the extra work that entrepreneurs and small businesses have to do in trying to outpace, the large budgets of the big guys, the big retailers and organizations. There's always this mentality of like the hustle and fast-paced work culture, like what Claudia said.
Slaves. We're slaves to society.
You are.
Yeah, and so it's all about trying to present an A+ image every single time, when we all of us, in all across all demographics, know what's going on in the world right now. And it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see the kind of the images that will come out out of this, the way we look at ourselves, like what Claudia said, our lifestyle changes, which no one prepared for this. And the music, the movies, the documentary work, and not taking anything for granted.
Yeah. So Claudia, earlier you were talking about the money that people are so eager to get. If we wanted to apply to get the money, where would we go?
Well, there is in Texas, it's called the hold on, I have it written down here somewhere. The Texas Workforce Commission.
Okay.
And that it's a government website, and it will help you get unemployment insurance. And that's what I was talking about, where the federal government has allotted $600 additional to what they would normally pay out, which I think was like $350.
Wow.
It was also recommended in the Dallas Morning News yesterday that you need to contact your creditors, see if they will allow you to delay your payments without penalties, because a lot of times, even if they don't make you pay it, they will still put on the additional fees. So try and do that, and see if you do have a mortgage or a car payment, see if you can lower that interest rate so it'll be less, even if it's just for a limited time. And look at your bank statements, and if you have anything that's an auto pay, like Netflix or something like that, just make sure that everything that's on there is something that you need and not something that you can't do without, at least for a couple of months until we get through this. And I say a couple of months, but they're talking it won't be 18 months until we have a vaccine. So this could last quite some time.
Yes.
So I'm gonna plug in, because there's an app for everything. There's an app called Truebill. It's one word.
TRUE?
TRUEBILL. And it's secure. I've tried it. Where you basically link up your financial accounts. It'll scan for any repeat charges, and it can, if you would like them to do it, they can basically call up your services that you pay for, like cell phone bill, and help lower that for you as well. And so I think in times like these, a service like that, if you don't want to spend 2 hours waiting on the phone, it's still going to save everyone's pocketbooks. And who doesn't like saving money?
Is that a free app, Rassi?
Correct.
At Truebill, they charge $3.
Oh, do they start charging now?
Yeah, I get that. I see it.
Yeah, with a recurring charge.
I guess it's one of those one of those businesses where we can save you money and we'll take a little off the top then.
Yeah, because if they call your companies and lower your bill, they take a percentage out of that too.
Correct.
Is it a one-time?
Per bill, if they. Thank you. So this was really informative because I wrote down a lot of notes. Y'all can't see, but I did. They're all right here.
So did I.
This is really good information. I don't think people realize that they can contact their creditors and all their bills and.
Sure. There's phone numbers on all of those websites. Just, if you have questions, just call them. Yeah.
Yes. And so I also want to talk about, I remembered the word, it's a forbearance program for people during this time, like during this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pandemic, so they can't really deny you. So I just want people out there to know that you do have an opportunity to, like Claudia was saying, lower down your interest or call your creditors and stuff. And there's actually like book companies, like AT&T, that's actually giving you a break. So more information out there for people out there who are going to struggle within the next month, because there's people who don't know where they're going to live.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful to have somewhere to live, and I have food in my fridge, and we're still here trying to help others. So
yeah.
So
Sure.
thank you guys so much. We're still on live. There's people here who actually joined. So hello to the Instagram people. They're watching us. Well, we are actually wrapping this up. Thank y'all so much for taking the time, and I'm praying for everybody, and we'll just see where we go from here, really.
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Lupita.
Alrighty, guys. Well, I'll see you on the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.